Welcome to TLC for the Soul podcast, where soul meets spirit. You have entered into sacred space. I'm your host, TAMI Lynn Chambers, and I'm here to help you shine. Now let's get going on this podcast journey. Hello, friends. Hello, and welcome to this show. I'm doing a little bit of a master teaching, some ASMR here in the beginning. Getting the dragon blood incense cone. It's very earthy. So we're going to go light this dragon's blood incense cone. A little lighter, and we're going to light this Coastal Breeze Mystic Waters candle. Just bebopping around, hanging out with earth and grounding dragons and fire dragons today. Lord Ganesh coming in. So let's get settled as we get our little space set up. Get this candle going. It's Coastal Breeze, Misty Harbor, and Mineral Bay. And then let's get this. So there's already a lot of fire. Let's get this dragon's blood cone going. I'm going to talk today about... We're not going to talk about stigmatas. We already talked about stigmatas. So this little teaching here that we're doing today is part of our master teaching series. It doesn't work. Our master teaching series has a couple of others. I'm going to make a playlist over on YouTube if you're interested. The last one we did was with the Pleiadians, and then there was one about a year ago that we did on stigmatas. So the master teaching ones don't come in all that often, but it's because I don't know why. But let's get settled. If you're new here, welcome. We don't always jump in right away. We try to get settled. We help you. Part of our intention is to help you get in a relaxed, receptive zone to allow you to be able to decode the messages that you're receiving here for yourself, because all of this is kind of one big experiment. You can kind of take what speaks to you and leave the rest. And so if learning about astral projection and doppelgängers is not your thing, then you can scroll around in the show, because we've got 4 years of content now on the channel. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of light language videos and teachings and kind of master teachings on how to help you work with your own energy. We've got, we dabbled a little bit on this show. Well, if you're listening on the podcast, welcome. You've got access to everything in one place. I put it all out there as much as I can. Audiobooks, the REIKI crystal healing, pick a cards, even if you're on the podcast. I pretty much just put it all out there, and you can decide if you want to interact with it or not. YouTube, we've got 3 different channels going now. I was guided to break it up a little bit and expand out, because the work that we do here is big enough to go and be a lot of different things. And so if you want to interact more with the books side of thing and the audiobooks and do some REIKI crystal healing and play with spirit friends that come through the books, then you'll head on over to my TAMI Lynn Chambers channel. The links to everything I talk about are always in the show notes. If you want to play more with card readings, then I've got pick a cards and collective card readings over on Loveland Tarot. And we're working on a series right now. The next thing we do here on the show, we've got a couple things coming here on this channel, TLC for the Soul. Been guided to do this master teaching today, but we are going to start working more with a sacred geometry series. Starting with the circle and the frequency of 000 and the void space. I've already done a pick a card as part of that series over on the Loveland Tarot channel. I'll link that in this video if you're on YouTube. But that pick a card is having to do with if you're feeling stuck, you know, is it divine timing? Is it a delay? Is it divine intervention? What is it? And it's a 4-pile pick a card. You want to head on over and check that out if that speaks to you. But today, this came up this morning, and so I thought we would dive into this little self-mastery topic. So let's get us all juicy, sacred space. If you're a returning family member, thank you for always coming back and joining me here and seeing what fun and exciting things we have to offer. I'm wrapping us all in love light and light love, inviting in the guides who are overlighting this self-mastery discussion, Archangel Michael, Archangel Metatron, and Archangel Raziel, who always are here to help me boost my spiritual powers and gifts and become stronger and more advanced in how I use those to serve and help and protect. Speaking of that, I just have to make a shout out to all of my Rainbow Rose Order family, my Sisters for the Sword, and my Brotherhood of the Rose. I am going to be making this week the introduction and our first assignment video. Those are all private videos that are going to be linked on YouTube. If you are wanting to be part of the Rainbow Rose Order and you've completed the initiation and solo camp, you need to email me at the show email. It's at the very bottom of the show notes of this video or show, and let me know. Now I've only gotten emails from like 2 or 3 people, and I know there's more. There's probably a couple people I'm going to reach out to that I know are interested, but probably just haven't had a chance to hear some of these things. But we're supposed to have around 40, so I'm sure they're going to come and go. But if you want to be a part of the first assignment, which needs to be done before the Lionsgate, then you need to email me and let me know. If you've already emailed me, you don't have to email me again. I'm putting together a group email list. When that first assignment is ready, I'm going to use that group email list to let you know that show episode, or it's not really a show episode, but that video is available. It walks us through the introduction of what we're doing, a little bit more information about what I've received about the collective of that and of our order, and our first assignment having to do with dragon eggs. Finally, we're getting to do that. All right, let's get into astral projection and doppelgangers. And how this all came about. I don't know. Here's how it came about. This morning, I was getting ready to go on a walk, and I was actually I don't know why I woke up. I was kind of nervous about today. Anytime I hear it's going to be super hot, it's raining. Anytime I hear it's going to be super hot outside, I get a little nervous because I have to do stuff outside, and I'm very sensitive. If it's too hot, I can't be out there for very long. And I was like, man, I've got to walk the dog this morning. I've got to go in and do some other things that are outdoor activities that I have to do. And I was like, please. I actually called in please. I called in extra support and asked my guides to help out. So it looks like they already are starting to help out a little bit, because it was supposed to be almost 100 degrees today, which is pretty unusual for this North Dakota area that I'm at. And so I actually did call in and ask the spirits of the weather to help out a little bit. And so it looks like they already have, because the skies are all gray right now, and I do see raindrops falling. So maybe we won't and if the sun is out, it's even worse, really hot. So they did come in and help out. But on my morning walk, I was like, oh my gosh, please don't let it be too hot. Because my dog is she's just like me. She's not very heat tolerant. And I wanted us to be able to have a good walk without her getting too tired, so that we could actually make it back to the house, because it is kind of a rigorous little walk, the path that we take. And so I told my guy, it's I need extra support today. I don't know why, I just do. And so they came in, and on the walk, as I was looking around and hanging out and everything, rather than being nervous, which I know I don't have to be, I could rise above that and all that. and it could be collective energy I'm feeling. It could be someone else's energy I'm feeling too, right? But they started talking to me about, they started like pinging me about topics that I was interested in. And astral projection has been one, and then this doppelganger thing has kept coming up. And so the archangels, the three that are here today, came in, and we just started having like a little Q&A. So as I'm going through some of the learnings that they shared with me about some of these topics I was interested in, if this brings up any questions that you might have, feel free to pop those in the show, what is that called? In the comments, or if you're listening on the podcast, you can't do that. You have to kind of email them to me. And we can bring up, like, if there's any master topics you're interested in that you have a lot of questions about, send them over, and we'll do more of these. I just call them self-mastery teachings, or I guess you could call them like spiritual development type of series too. So I was walking, and I was wondering about astral projection, and let's just tackle that one first, right? And I was kind of like, how does that happen? How do you astral project, and what is it exactly that's happening? Because I like to kind of know the science behind the topic, the science behind the spirituality side of things. And at a high level, we know that it's kind of like, what is it? Even at a high level. So it's kind of like, okay, we'll give you an example. It's like I'm sitting here on the couch, and I look out the window, and in my front yard, I see like what appears to be like a ghostly figure looking in at me, kind of like looking in at, seeing what I'm doing. And what is that? Is that a ghost? No, I should be able to tell with my self-mastery skills. So if my spiritual side is advanced enough, I should be able to tell the difference in the energy of a disembodied spirit and someone projecting their energy, in this case, towards me. Astral projecting themselves towards me. And so I was curious, like, what's happening in the astral projection itself? Is a soul, is a person, because it has to be a person. It's not happening. Is it a person consciously doing something to send a quote unquote version of themselves somewhere else? And the guides that are here are saying, yes, it's a conscious effort that you make to send your soul to a remote location, or it's not really your soul. It's like, that was the other question too. It's like, what is actually being projected? So hold on. So it's like, we'll just say send your soul now to a remote location to complete a task. So there's an intention consciously being set. Because I asked, I'm like, is astral projection a conscious thing that someone is doing? Or is it just, I'm sitting here daydreaming and suddenly I show up somewhere else? And they're like, that's a little bit different. So astral projection is a conscious effort. So let's just keep going with the examples. In the example of I'm sitting here and I look out and somebody's looking in at me, and I'm like, oh, that's not a disembodied spirit. That looks like somebody, and it may be somebody you know, it may be somebody you don't know. And so that person would have consciously had to have said, in this case, I'm going to go see what TLC's doing right now. We're just making it like super high level, right? I'm going to go see what TLC's doing right now, and we're making it like very generic. And I'm going to just pop in and see how she's doing. I'm going to take a look at what she's doing right now. In this case, in this scenario, I'm sitting on the couch. And so a 4D version of that person is projected to the location I'm at right now. And it's very tangible looking, but it's not a physical. Obviously, it's not a 3D. It's a 4D. So it's in between the third dimension. It's not a physical fully dense matter person, okay? But it's also not a 5D like a hologram. It's somewhere in between, like a hologramish, vision-y kind of thing, and a 3D physical matter person. And the guides here did say that these astral projections can interact with their physical reality in a way to influence the objects around them. So I guess technically, if this person wanted to if this 4D version of this person wanted to interact with me, they could send their astral projection self, and let's just say in this case, they could knock on my window. And would I hear the knocking? They're saying I would hear the knocking if I was psychically attuned to that. So if my spiritual gifts aren't that developed, I'm not going to see the astral projection person at all. If my if my spiritual gifts are more developed, then I might, out of the corner of my eye, see something that looked like somebody standing there. And I might whisk around and look, straight on look. And I might see them and I might not. It depends on what? It depends on my level of interaction with the spiritual world around me. If I want to interact, then I can set the intention to interact, and then I can see them more clearly, and I can actually interact with them as well. Oh, nice. So that's that being said. So then my other question is, can anyone astral project? I'm like, well, if we're saying, it was kind of like, well, can the because we know that there's there's the light side and there's the dark side. And I'm like, can the dark side astral project and do stuff too? And they're like, of course. And I'm like, okay, well, if I'm a bringer of the light, if I'm a light worker, I have the highest intentions in mind. So it sounds like astral projection is not just specific to somebody who's on the light-filled spiritual path. It can be done, as is, they keep bringing up remote viewing. As is with remote viewing, it can be done by people who don't have the best intentions at heart. We know that. We've heard about that with all the conspiracy theory stuff. That's happening with not the best intentions in mind. That's happening by factions and groups and sources who don't always have the best interests in mind or in heart, right? For subterfuge or whatever. And so I was like, well, why do we allow that? And who's allowing astral projection to even happen? Where's it coming from? And they're saying source allows it to happen to advanced practitioners. They're not saying of the light, but advanced practitioners have the ability to astral project because their soul signature, number one, allows for it. It's part of their akash. It's something they know how to do. And sometimes there's lessons to be learned through these activities, and there's a higher purpose involved. So, for example, if a person who's more a dark matter person is able to, because they're advanced and they know how, to astral project and interact to influence something in a dastardly not so good way, they are allowed to do so by source, because the bigger picture and the higher perspective is that possibly what they're doing can cause some sort of spiritual development, learning, something to happen that is going to cause balance, right? Because there's light and there's dark. Everything, regardless of what it is, you can look at this at the micro level in your own life too. Everything, regardless of what it is, however you categorize it, is a lesson that leads to a blessing. It may not always look pretty. So pull back out at the macro level. If there's someone or some faction or some group, oh my God, my crown is on fire right now. Some group that's doing this astral projection for what we would consider a not so good intention, chances are that there's some sort of lesson, there's some activity happening that has to happen to balance out the light with the dark, is what they're saying. So it's not a spiritual power that's limited to only, bringers of the light or somebody who's on the best intentioned path, but that ultimately, at the highest levels, don't get all down in the details, at the highest levels, Source is allowing this spiritual gift and power to be used. So that then brought up doppelgangers, because doppelgangers are another type of astral projection done for not so good intentions. Okay, so this is where we kind of stop, because my walk was almost over and I was like, this is very interesting, but I want to understand the physiology of a doppelganger too. So we didn't get there yet. So we're going to get there through this discussion. So I have had an experience, not in this lifetime, in a past life with a doppelganger. The doppelganger was a production or they're saying that they kind of can be used like Trojan horses in a sense. But the doppelganger that I interacted with was a result of black magic and was used to trick me into believing that for lack of a better word, that the person in front of me was somebody else. So the doppelganger, the physiology of the one that I experienced, was produced by a spell that said, make this person, was it a 3D, a 4D, a 5D person? They're saying it was a 4D person. So it was an astral projection of a vision of someone that I thought I knew who it was. So, right, because doppelgangers are kind of like, you see someone and you're like, oh my God, that looks just like so-and-so, but so-and-so is on the other side of the world. You're like, so there's no way that could be them. And so in this case, in this past life, a doppelganger was created with not so good intentions to basically trick me into believing that this person was somebody else, a person I knew, but who actually was not this person being presented to me at the time. And there was a series of events that happened that kind of changed a big part of my Akashic record, and caused me to go into like what do you want to call it? A learning spiral. Caused me to go into a karmic learning spiral. Yeah, it was great. But that's been taken care of now in this lifetime. But it was quite a long time ago. I experienced this doppelganger. It was a result of black magic. And it sounds like they're saying the physiology is a 4D expression that was created. So was it shape-shifting? It's like who was sending the doppelganger? Was the doppelganger an astral projection of like the person doing the black magic and they just showed up as someone else? It was a mask. Yes. Okay. So in this case, they're saying, oh yeah, it was the chills. So in this case, in the scenario I'm giving you, whoever it was, I don't really care who was doing the black magic, but they created a doppelganger. So they astral projected themselves with the intent of appearing to be this other person that I knew. And they had not good intentions in mind, and then it set off a whole spiral series of events. But back to the astral projection of like who can astral project. In this case, the person was coming with not good intentions, but they were allowed to do so. But yes, so many chills, because at the highest level, what they did caused me to do something too. So I interacted with this 4D version, this doppelganger, and I did some activities that caused my life to go into a karmic spiral, a learning loop or whatever. And it took many lifetimes and many experiences to come out of that. Okay. Let me just see how much time we've been talking here. Oh yeah, well, we're talking quite a long time. So, doppelgangers in this lifetime, is everyone you see out there with malintent? They're saying not all of them are. Some of them have good intentions, but the wrong way of going about things. So, What the heck? So is a doppelganger always not the person they're in? So if it's like person A is the person I know, and then person B is the one creating the doppelganger of person A, why? What's what for? Is it always for a bad intention? They're saying not always. That there could be a benefit to it. If person A is tied up on the other side of the world, and person B is guided by source to help somebody, and the only way that they can do it is by appearing as person A, then that is a scenario. Like, how often does that happen? They're saying it's very rare. Very rare. Most times, I think you're not, if you see somebody, because I think this is what happens more often than not, is you are out and about. You don't even be out and about, but you are doing something and you see somebody that looks like person A. They're saying it's most likely not a doppelganger. It's more just the physical representation, like spirit showing you, in this case, maybe a preview of person A. Like maybe you haven't even met person, haven't you met person A yet? How would you know that person B looks like them? So in your mind's eye, okay, here's the scenario. In your mind's eye, you may be being shown a vision of person A. So in this case, it sounds like somebody you don't know yet. You may be showing a vision of person A, and spirit starts showing you representations of people that look like person A, but it's not a doppelganger. It's like totally different intention, because it's spirit just trying to like ping your third eye and say like, oh, look, you look and you see and you're like, oh, that person looks just like the person in my mind's eye. And spirit's like, yes, we're giving you previews of what's to come. You're going to meet person A at some point, and we're just kind of showing you in little like good gestures what person A looks like, so that when you meet them, you're like, oh, I've been seeing you all over the place. It was just a preview of you coming into my physical reality. Okay, that makes sense to me now. Oh my God, we could go on and on and on. So did I touch on the whole astral projection thing? They're saying, well done, I did that. Okay, what about doppelgangers? Yeah, we're good there. Is there anything else we want to talk about with that? So I guess not. This may bring up a lot of questions that you might have, or it may answer a lot of questions of things you've been wondering about. And so I just wanted to like share that. It's kind of fun. These kind of topics are kind of fun to me. If you're interested in other similar type topics, we did one on stigmatas a while back, and I will put that in the playlist. And if there's any others you want to explore with us here at the TLC for the Soul Family for the rest of our community, you know, like I said, let me know, and we will bring those forward with like some other future Q&As, because we get the topic and the questions, and then I like to sit down and kind of like do like an interview or something like with the guides, and just have them like answer these questions. So I hope this was a fun little experience. And if you, I don't know, if you not, I don't know what if you know, if you like these kinds of things, then let us know, and we will bring forward more of these, because we haven't done one in quite a while. All right, friends, I want to thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you all again soon. Take care.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. It has been brought to you by the Bringers of the Light, an etheric group of higher light beings focused on service to Gaia, humanity, and the self as it pertains to the spiritual journey. So they are here to support you on your path to love and to working with others. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care.